Okay, so I know that I am posting this late tonight, but since we are moving our test until Friday, so you may check your answers, some tonight and some tomorrow, and we'll talk more about it in class. So Madison worked on her science hypothesis for half an hour. So I have Madison worked for half an hour. Fidel worked for 2/3 as long as Madison. So if here's Madison, Fidel worked, it was half an hour, Fidel worked 2/3 as long as. So that means if I were to break it up in two parts, Fidel worked for part of what Madison worked. As long as is a clue for multiplication. It means you're taking a part. So let's do it. A half times 2/3 equals 2/6, because I do 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6. I do not find common denominators. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. All right, I'm going to move on to number 2. Christian worked for an hour and 3/4. So Christian worked an hour, this was Christian, worked for an hour and 3/4, 1 3/4 hours. I don't know why I stumbled on saying that so much, on his science experiment process. Colin worked 2.5 times. So Colin worked 2.5 times. So Colin worked 2 times and then a whole nother half. So 2.5 times. 2.5 times. So that means I'm going to multiply. But I can't do this the way I did the last problem because I have parts. 2 parts times 2 parts. So I have to draw a rectangle sections. Oh, I should not have scrunched that in next to my numbers. That was bad. I'm going to cross that off because I know I might make a mistake. I'm going to leave myself a little bit more space this time. Wish I'd used a pencil. 1 3/4, 2 1/2. 1 times 2, 2 times 3/4. Let's make a denominator of 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 4 is 4. There's a better way for me to write 6/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We always do that with the numerator. Circle a group of 4. 1 whole, 2 left over. All right, I'm going to come down here. 1 times 1/2. Denominator of 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. There's not a better way to write a half. Half times 3/4 equals 3/8. So I have my 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's add them up. 2 wholes plus 1 2/4 plus 1/2 plus 3/8. It is always my job to keep one denominator the same. One denominator the same. Turn the other 2 into that denominator. So I'm going to keep my large one the same. My large one is 8ths. And I'm going to see if I could turn these into 8ths. Okay, 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. So I have to do the same to the numerator. So let's add. 4 plus 4 is 8. 3 more is 11. 2 plus 1 is 3. There's a better way to say 11/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I need to circle a group of 8. One group. 1, 2, 3 left over. 4 3/8. I'm going to go back to the problem. How long did Colin work? 4 3/8 hours. All right, let's talk about Savian, Leilani, and Caitlin. They worked on their science project for 2 3/4 hours. So I have Savion plus Leilani plus Caitlin. They worked for 2 3/4 hours. This is them. How did this compare? How did this compare to how Long, Madison, and Christian worked all together on their project? Use their times above. Let's see if I can find Madison and Christian's. Madison was half an hour. Christian was 1 3/4 hours. So, but it says, how does this compare to how long Christian and Madison worked all together? So I have to put those together. That means add. I'm going to put my biggest one on top, smallest one down below. What can I do? I'm looking to keep one denominator the same, change the other denominator to be the same. So 2 times 2, have to do the same up here. 1 times 2. So what do? 3 plus 2 is 5, and my 4 stays the same. Bring down my 1. 5/4 has a better way to write it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Circle a group of 4. 1 whole, 1 left over. Plus the other one, 2 1/4. What does my question say? How does this compare to how much Madison and Christian worked? Which one is bigger? 3/4 or 1/4? 3/4. Which group worked longer? So Savion, Lincoln, and Christian worked longer. But the question says how much longer? So I have to take 2 3/4 minus 2 1/4. 3/4 minus 1/4 is 2/4. 2 minus 2, 0. 2/4 can also be written as half. Half an hour. Okay, let's move on to number 4. Morgan created a story context for an expression 2 divided by 1/4. Morgan was told by a friend, Madeline, that he has mixed up the story context. How could you help Morgan fix it? So divided. I'm sharing it out. He says, I have 2 bags of candy and I ate 1/4 of my bags. How much candy did I eat? Well, that was only one group. They only split it into one group. I'm looking for them to eat lots of little groups. Well, that didn't work. So I'm going to rewrite the problem. So I'm going to keep the same. I had 2 bags of candy. So you can double check to see if the sentence you wrote works. I have 2 bags of candy and I ate, I have 2 bags of candy and I gave my friends 1/4. How many friends can I share them with? Oh, I'm going to go back up here and say of a bag. So I could have said something about that I'm putting 1/4 into something. All right, let's talk about Aisha. Aisha worked on her study guide for 3/5 of an hour. So